Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome in the BYD Dolphin. A pretty funky name for a pretty, funky car. Now the car doesn't look that spectacular from the outside. It does, however, here in the interior. It looks pretty spectacular, but it is mostly the pricing on this car that makes this car very interesting. Now, of course, pricing may differ in your country, but here in the Netherlands, the car starts from 30,000 euros. Actually, even a little bit less, 29,990,000 euros. Which makes this car pretty much a bargain if you compare this car to its competitors. Because the car may not look that big from the outside, the car is in fact longer than a Volkswagen ID.3. So the competitors of this car are a Volkswagen ID.3, Opel Astra Electric, Peugeot E308, Kia Niro, etc, etc. However, all these cars are way more expensive than this BYD Dolphin. This car is even cheaper than a Peugeot E208 or a Corsa Electric. But there's a big difference between the entry-level versions of this car and the higher spec versions of the Dolphin. Now in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this Dolphin from BYD, so let's get started. So by now, I probably don't have to explain you what BYD is. BYD is a Chinese car manufacturer. They're selling around 5 models now in Europe. You got the BYD Han, the BYD Tang, you got the Dolphin, you got the Seal, and there's the Atto 3. Now starting next year, they will also be selling the Seal U, which is like an SUV version of the Seal. I'm gonna drive that car starting next year, so if you don't want to miss that review, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This BYD Dolphin is the most compact car that they have. The Atto 3 is a little bit bigger than this car, but this car isn't small. Like I said, the car is actually a little bit bigger than the ID.3. Well, it's not bigger, it is longer. It is a little bit more narrow compared to an ID.3. Now, storage room is not that impressive in this car. The trunk capacity is 345 liters, so not that much. An ID.3 offers a lot more storage capacity. However, you do get a big sub-trunk in this car where you can store your charging cables and even like a small carry-on. Now the backseat area in this car does offer a lot of space. It's actually really spacious in the back of this car. And what I also like is the amenities that you get. So you get 2 USB-C ports, so modern USB ports, and you also get all these nice materials in the back. The materials are pretty much identical to the materials that you get here in the front. So the door panels are covered in this soft material, just like here on the front door panels. You do have to keep in mind that the headspace is not that impressive. So you do get a lot of room for your knees, your legs, and even your feet, but you don't get a lot of headspace in the backseat area. Now here up front, the materials are pretty good, and you have to keep in mind that even in the entry-level version of this car, which is around 30,000 euros, you also get all the nice amenities that you get in this more higher spec version that I'm driving right now. So you get a lot of soft materials, you get funky looking air vents, and you get a lot of ocean theme elements. So this car is called the Dolphin, and basically the ocean theme is all over this car. So you get like stingray or manta ray air vents on top of the dashboards, and you even get like a dolphin fin here as a door handle, which I actually think looks pretty nice. It doesn't look childish, it actually looks pretty cool if you ask me. And you have to keep in mind you get all this nice stuff also in the entry-level version of the BYD Dolphin. You also get this massive infotainment screen. The screen is 13-inch, which is massive for a car in this segment. Again, this car competes with Peugeot E208, Corsa Electric, also the Kia Niro, Astra Electric, Peugeot E308. They all have pretty small infotainment screens. This car has a massive screen, and you can actually tilt the screen. It can tilt for like 90 degrees. This is like a big party trick of all BYD models. With the press of a button on the steering wheel or on the infotainment screen itself, the screen will flip 90 degrees. Which is more helpful than you think. It looks like a gimmick, but when you're using the in-house navigation screen, it is way easier to see the entire route you're planning to drive. So actually this is pretty handy when you use it. You also get a digital gauge cluster that is connected to the steering column. So if you change the position of the steering wheel, you will automatically change the digital instrumentation cluster as well, which is also pretty nice. I also really like these sport seats with an integrated headrest. They're pretty comfortable and they're actually pretty soft. They're not really sport seats, they are way too soft for that, which is a good thing because they are really comfortable even if you drive this car for a little longer. Now let's talk about the entry-level version. You may want to skip that version because it is cheap for a reason. You only get a pretty small battery with a capacity of 45 kilowatt hours, giving the car a range of 340 kilometers, which is not bad. But again, you do have to pay 30,000 euros for a car like that. And starting next year, you're going to have cars like the Volkswagen ID2, Renault 5, E-Tech, Citroën EC3 that will also basically offer the same range for around 5,000 euros less. Those cars will start from around 25,000 euros. Keep in mind those cars are a lot smaller, so this car is still interesting even if you go for the entry-level version, but the specs are less impressive. Especially if you keep in mind that the entry-level version can only fast charge up to 60 kilowatts, which is not impressive, especially nowadays. Cars should at least fast charge up to 100 kilowatts because keep in mind 60 kilowatts is the peak performance during fast charging, so on average the car will fast charge around 30 or 40 kilowatts, so not that fast. And you only get 95 horsepower, which is not that much. So only if you're going to use that car as like a second car in the household that you're only going to use to do the daily shopping run or get the kids from school, it is a pretty good deal until next year when competitors will offer cars that are cheaper that have the same kind of specs. But again, they probably will be smaller than this car. The car I'm driving right now has the bigger battery with a capacity of 60 kilowatt hours, giving this car a range of 430 kilometers, which is pretty good. And this car can fast charge up to 88 kilowatts, which is not that good. Again, I think a car nowadays should at least charge up to 100 kilowatts, and this car cannot do that. But this car does have an LFP battery. This car has the blade battery from BYD, because BYD actually isn't really a car company. They are, but their core business is actually making batteries, and they make one of the best batteries in the world, and they're actually the second biggest battery manufacturer in the world. And even Tesla nowadays buys some batteries from BYD, because if you're going to buy a Model Y from Tesla here in Europe, that car is built in the Gigafactory in Berlin, and it actually has a BYD battery, the blade battery. And a Tesla Model Y with a 60 kilowatt hour battery can fast charge well over 200 kilowatts. So I don't really get why this car with almost the same battery, or at least the same chemistry, cannot charge that fast. It can only charge up to 88 kilowatts, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell me why this car cannot charge that fast. I mean, it doesn't have to fast charge as fast as a Model Y, but why can it only fast charge up to 88 kilowatts with a blade battery? I'm not sure why, so if you know the answer, do let me know in the comments. I'm quite curious. So to quickly sum up the technical specifications on this car, if you go for the entry-level version, you get 95 horsepower, 45 kilowatt hours of capacity, and a range of 340 kilometers. You can also get that version with a more powerful electric motor producing 177 horsepower. And if you go for the bigger battery pack that I have right now, you get 60 kilowatt hours of capacity, you can fast charge up to 88 kilowatts, and you get more performance because this car has an electric motor that has an output of 204 horsepower. Now, I'm not sure about the electric motor. I don't really like the setup on the electric motor. Let me show you why that is. You got 3 drive modes. You got Sport, Eco, and Normal. You got all these buttons down here, and one of them is the drive mode button. If I press it, I can see here on the digital instrumentation cluster, Eco, Normal, and Sport. If I put the car in Sport, and if I press the accelerator pedal, I got a lot of wheel spin. Way too much wheel spin. Let's try it again in normal mode. And normal, here we go. Again, even more wheel spin this time than in sport mode. I don't really get it. Well, first of all, I don't really like electric cars that have the electric motor on the front axle because of wheel spin. You get just too much torque on the front wheels. You get a lot of torque steer. I don't really like it, but this car especially has a lot of wheel spin. So I really think BYD should fine-tune the electric motor a little bit more, which is not impossible, and it can send out an over-the-air update. So maybe in the future, the electric motor will be a little bit more refined. What I really like in the car is how the car drives. This is a very comfortable car, and I think way more cars should be as comfortable as this car. Because I'm driving a lot of cars year-round, around 50 cars I believe, and this is one of the more comfortable cars, which is crazy that a small, well it's not small, but a pretty compact car from China is one of the more comfortable cars I have driven this year. And not just during low speeds, but also when you're doing higher speeds. I took the car up to its top speed, which is 160 kilometers an hour. The car was still very comfortable on the highway while staying very stable. And I didn't expect that last part, because usually when cars are very comfortable, they're a little bit wobbly and all over the place. Not this car. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I have to say the Chinese really understand how to make a chassis nowadays. Again, one of the better cars I have driven this year. Comfortable and stable. That's basically all you need. I mean, it's not a sporty car, but I don't think cars like this should be sporty. I know a lot of European car manufacturers tend to disagree. I know that all cars are supposed to be sports cars nowadays, also compact hatchbacks. I disagree. I rather prefer this car. So I think that's it for this video. I'm really curious what you guys think of this car. You have to keep in mind this car is competing with the Peugeot E208 and also the Peugeot E308. So that does make it a little bit, well, complicated to really compare this car to any other car. Obviously you got the MG4, which is also a pretty good deal. So that's mainly the biggest competitor to this car, I would say. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. And then I'll see you in the next one.